So we're going to get into magic, and we're going to start with mana distribution. So whenever you reveal cells, I believe mana distribution works in such a way that the numbers on the cells revealed, I think, restore that number of mana. It's either that or the number of cells you reveal, each one of them give you one mana. I'm not absolutely certain. But mana builds up as you play, as you reveal, um, and any mana you collect will be applied to any magic items which are currently in any way depleted. So if I look at a magic item here, say the Crucible, 400 mana, that means that it costs 400 mana to use this item. Once the item is used, it will start regaining mana as you click on solve cells, and the item will be usable again once it reaches the amount of mana required to operate it. If all of your magic items are completely filled with mana, then mana gain will do nothing for you. So, use it or lose it. Mana gain is distributed randomly, as one of the signposts will tell you, meaning that if I have 3 items that are depleted in any way, then the mana will be distributed to them in no particular order. What this does mean is that if you have a magic item that doesn't require that much mana to use, it can sometimes be a good idea to avoid using more expensive items, depending on what's the most useful to you at the time. So just use them carefully, don't waste them, because mana it's like any roguelite. Mana is a resource, and a lot of roguelite play is about resource management. So I'm just going to go through 1 or 2 items that I think are particularly useful to have in a run. They're not the be-all and end-all of magic items. They won't win you runs, but they are worth bearing in mind, and in some cases prioritizing depending on how you like to play. This is how I like to play. Don't take this as any kind of recommendation that these are particularly overpowered items. But Midas Glove. The thing about hearts is that if you're at full health, hearts are now a useless resource that you can't collect. It's similar to the Binding of Isaac. If you're full on health, the hearts do nothing. Absolutely nothing. Midas Glove allows you to convert hearts into a usable resource. So if you don't have any injuries, which literally means if you're not missing any lives, hearts will turn to diamonds. You can't turn them back. Be aware of that. But effectively, that means that useless hearts are now worth 5 coins, which is very useful indeed. It also has a very niche secondary use, that when you appear in a boss stage, bosses operate on a particular heart currency of their own, and I do believe Midas's Glove converts their hearts into diamonds. And usually the only way that bosses can interact with you is if they collect their hearts, or you collect their hearts, or if you make a mistake. So a lot of bosses will be really neutered by you effectively removing their ammunition. So Midas's Glove can be incredibly powerful and just an incredible lifesaver. Dowsing Rod, if you're playing on easy, don't worry about it. It's not that useful, but later on, in later difficulties, this really can be a game changer, especially for the cost. Whenever you discover a 4, you will just spawn a coin, as it says. In later stages, in later difficulties, 4s are very common indeed. So this will pay for itself in the span of a single stage, and it will just keep generating you money and money and money constantly. It is incredibly useful. Then there are the books. I've not put these in the correct order, I'm afraid. So Book of Defense and Book of Spells. Book of Spells, not that big a deal. Book of Faith, that can be useful, but we'll go through them in turn. I believe there's another one as well. Book of Combat and Book of Necromancy. I'll take you through the good ones anyways. So the Book of Defense, pick up hearts at full life to gain defense. If you've got Midas's Glove, this no longer does anything. Unless you take some damage, then spawn a lot of hearts on the level, and then fill up to full, and then collect the leftover hearts, because Midas's Glove doesn't apply to hearts that are already on the board. Book of Defense converts hearts into defense, and defense is a very useful resource. Diamonds, yeah, sure, they're great. Defense will save your life. One of the one of the chest comments is "Don't die rich." Yeah, even if you've got 500 gold, if you get killed, you get killed. but defense is always useful. Book of Spells, Hearts turn into mana. 100 mana is quite useful. The Book of Faith, this is fantastic if you need it. This can just remain in your inventory and be completely useless for the entire game. If you don't get any omens, you're probably going to get some omens though. But yeah, 333 turns of being completely immune to omens no matter what happens. I think actually omen immunity is a little bit buggy at the moment. Sometimes omen immunity only applies to the first effect of an omen, but that may not be the case at the moment. Pick parts up for life to extend the effect. Yep. If you have multiple items that affect that activate when you select a heart, they will all be activated by the collection of a single heart. So it isn't like you will either activate the defense book or the faith book. I do believe it activates them both. Punching bag is interesting. Whenever you leave an item shop, uncomplete stage 1. Stage 1 is very unlikely to be dangerous. Stage 1 usually has a small enough number of monsters that you can solve it without much trouble. You can sometimes get a 50-50 on stage 1, but not too likely. Which means that Punch Bag, whenever you leave an item shop, you are going to be able to go back into a level which will have a number of chests available for you and an amount of cash available for you, and possibly some hearts if you need that. It will also give you some additional XP. So Punch Bag, being able to replay stage 1 can give you a little bit of an edge. It's not amazing, but sometimes it will be just about enough. Supply and Diamond down here. Whenever you collect a diamond, spawn a Nomad. A Nomad is going to be a guy who will attempt to buy or sell something from you, but I'll go into NPCs later on. Sometimes they sell amazing things. Sometimes they're your only way to get legendary items on a run. And sometimes they will buy items from you that you don't even want. Occasionally they will buy omens. I'm pretty sure I've had an omen bought by a Nomad before, and it's a really reliable way to get rid of omens. Other things we've gone through. Oh, here we go. Iron Bank here. Also, Blood Bank is particularly good. Gain 1 max life for every diamond or chest left behind, and gain 1 defense for every diamond or chest left behind. If you are in a situation where you have a particularly good set of items, you will sometimes want to completely avoid picking up chests, because a chest can sometimes contain an omen, which would just completely end your run. And if you have a god tier item set already, it's not worth taking the risk, which means that Iron Bank and Blood Bank will actually do something with those left behind chests, apart from giving you the 5 XP for charity that you'd normally get for leaving behind a chest. Also, if you're on one of the later stages and you don't have any open shops left, then you don't need diamonds anymore, unless you have another item that interacts with diamonds in some way. So these turn a useless resource, potentially, into something handy. Wild Bank, I don't really like playing with minions very much. It's just not my style. So if you like minions, Wild Bank's pretty good. Next up is the Matchbook, which is over here. Matchbook is a little bit difficult to find sometimes. It doesn't seem to, well, for me, it doesn't appear in shops very often. I do realise that the odds of items appearing are not based on anything in particular. It's just, luck of the draw. The easiest way to get a Matchbook is to kill a Pyro. We'll go into that later on. But Pyros are more common, and they will also send flares in the opposite direction, meaning that they will fire in 2 directions at once. Pyros being more common can be very useful indeed, because they will do an awful lot of solving for you, and they will kill monsters. Whenever they find a monster, they'll kill it. The only problem is that they will apply an awful lot of burning cells to a stage, and I'll get into that later on, and sometimes that can be dangerous. But usually, having a lot of Pyros will just solve a lot of the level for you, and can be really quite helpful. Panflute, down here. 4 or greater, which we've established is sort of common in later levels. Spawn Familiar. If you have a Panflute active, you will find familiars just popping up all over the place, and they will just wander around solving the level for you until they die. I'll get into familiars in a minute. Particularly if you can find a way to obtain multiple Panflutes, the level will just solve itself. So that can be powerful, or it can be completely useless. Similarly, Primordial Gate. Discover a 5 or greater, gain a random magic item. This is usually incredible. I mean, it costs 31 coins for a reason. But you can sometimes generate magic items you didn't want. They're not all good in all situations. Particularly things like pyromancy. If I go over here, targeted cells when I use a magic item will gain burning. You don't always want that. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. So Primordial Gate can sometimes give you something quite lethal. Not that often though, and having a lot of magic items is usually quite useful, although it can leave you quite starved of mana, which is something to be aware of. The acupuncture, which is that further back? That is... Oh, where are you? Goodness me. I've completely lost it, and I think it costs around 20 coins. This is not professional. I'm looking for it. I absolutely can't see it, and it certainly doesn't cost as much as this. Well, that's... you know, why don't I use the useful search feature? Try to do this. Yeah, here we go. Acupuncture, lose a life, gain 2 defense. You're not losing maximum life. This is just dealing 1 point of damage to you. And that gives you 2 permanent defense. That's real nice. It's real nice. Purse Cutter. If I can locate that, which, again, we've established. I really am not very good at this. I thought that cost around 19. I'm not that sure now. Yeah, I'll just type it in, shall I? Purse Cutter. Steal coins from a target stranger equal to his price. Particularly when you find elders, they tend to be quite expensive. Scribes are expensive too. Purse Cutter can generate you an awful lot of cash in a real hurry. It's quite cheap as well for what it does. Then Tabula Rasa is on the top shelf, I think. But then... no. TA? Give me a B. Yeah, activate items that would trigger when you enter a beginner stage. Doesn't sound great on paper. Some items that activate when you begin a stage are amazing. In particular, the legendary Hyper Trap. Hyper Trap will flag 20% of all monsters whenever you enter a stage. If you have Tabula Rasa, then that will activate a second time, and possibly a third time if you can generate an awful lot more mana, which, yeah, is real nice, again. Badge of Honor. Oh, we're getting into legendaries now, so I can just go to legendaries, because there ain't that many of them. Badge of Honor. Every 15 cells you open without making a mistake, reduce the monster count of all of the stages by 1. Reducing the monster count of all of the other stages really gets powerful in a hurry, especially if you get this item early on. Particularly if you're trying to go for the kill all monsters on a board achievement, this can be really nice. Then we have Hieroglyph. Some coins will be ancient coins. An ancient coin will give you a number of coins equal to the sum of the number of... well, it's equal to the sum of the highest numbered cell currently visible on the stage. So if the highest numbered cell you have is a 6, surrounded by 6, then an ancient coin will give you 6 times the number of 6s available on the board, or at least the number of 6s visible. So collecting ancient coins instead of regular coins can give you quite a lot of cash, depending on where you are. It can be very powerful on early stages, where the highest you're likely to see is a 3 or the occasional 4, depending on when you use it. Don't hold on to ancient coins for too long, because last thing you want is to discover a 5 on a board with no other 5s, and then you've got to try again on a different level. Then there's the Crystal Veins. This is amazing. Gain 1 maximum life every time you pick up a diamond. Anything that gives you more diamond just makes this way, way too powerful. Then Fake Mustache. This is probably the best legendary in the game. If you discover a 3 or better, gleam all around that 3. This is an ability that's so powerful that an entire class is dedicated to doing it. So yeah, fake mustache is wonderful. We'll get into deleting and exactly how good it is much later on, but bear in mind that is quite good. It is very good. Also, Golden Goose has its moments. Every 50 cells, gain an awful lot of coins. That's every 50 cells opened, by the way, not every 50 turns. That's different. So yeah, don't worry about cording with that thing. But yeah, he will pay out very quickly. There are two that I've missed actually from magic items. There is Thor's favourite. There's Mjolnir. Reduces the monster count by the value of the target visible cell that you've clicked on. So if you can see a 6, you activate Mjolnir, click on the 6. Every other stage will lose 6 monsters. That's pretty nice. The other one is under consumables, the quest sets. Quests are very nice indeed. They require you to open a number of cells, and again, this is opening cells. This isn't, pardon me, turns. But yeah, 100 cells, which isn't that many cells. Gain 4 souls, which is quite powerful. Gain 50 coins, which is very powerful. Or gain 3 permanent defense. Or the gambler's favourite, quest for that's quest for piety. Pardon me. Destroy all your Romans. That's really nice. There is one further along, I suppose it would be. There is a quest for quests. It's more expensive, it's more powerful though, and it takes fewer cells to open. Yeah, gain 2 quest items. Quest for quests can give you quest for quests, which can give you quest for quests, and eventually the worm eats its own tail, and you just have infinite quests. This is powerful enough that again, a class is pretty much dedicated to it. I believe it's the scholar. You start with that item. So that's really most of the useful items. There are others that you want to be bearing in mind that aren't particularly stand out, but that you do want to. Oh, excuse me, actually, I've forgotten one. It's my favourite 50/50 resolver is the red flag. It's incredibly cheap for the mana cost. Sorry, incredibly cheap for what it does. Which is if you right-click a cell to flag it. If there is a monster there, it will flag. If there isn't a monster there, red flag will tell you that that was a safe cell. So this is a 50/50 resolver that in itself has a chance of being free, which, yeah, you will save yourself an awful lot of trouble with this. Otherwise, I'll just briefly get on to the other magic item you want, and it can be one of any number from a set, is a way to resolve 50/50 scenarios. Those being a situation where you can see a number of cells are available and a number of monsters are available, but there is no way to determine, based on what information you have, which of the cells actually contains the monster, and you just sort of end up in a coin flip scenario where one of them is going to hit you and one of them isn't, and all you can do is click and hope. They're not as common as you might believe. They do come up though. So what you really want in your inventory is at least one way to resolve a 50/50. So like the torch, I mean that's expensive. For 150 mana, reveals one cell. This effectively does the same thing for half the mana cost, and can be reused occasionally. There are other ways to reveal. There are consumables that do it, magic items that do it. Some legendaries do it, although they're a little bit unpredictable. Things like the rabbit foot will reveal random cells. Goodness me, the odds of you revealing a cell that you actually want are quite slim, but it does happen. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much that.